Welcome to God Winging It with me, Roger Michael Klang. I am not winging it any longer since I lack the language skills and the rhetorical skills for it. My sources are almost all SR Ekut. So, the gloves are off. Let us jump right into it. Reports from Israel and the US say that Iran's defense minister and the head of the Revolutionary Guard were killed in the Israeli attacks, something Iran denies. This is in line with what I have been saying for quite some time. This time it is not going to be so easy on the Iranian regime's main front figures like it was in June 2025. UK is of course in on the attack. The rule-based system upheld by the former police state RIP is dead. There are remnants of it, like the US president is saying one thing but means another. He says that one purpose to attack Iran is that the US is aiming for a regime shift in Iran. Sure, that is one aim. But behind that prophetic statement is the need for oil, the US need for oil. The veil is already off, and we can clearly see that the US is being self sufficient on oil, like it was conveyed to the public even during the Biden administration, but mostly the Trump administration, was a charade all along. They crave oil, domestic and foreign oil. But they don't say, we want Iran and the whole fucking region to give us their oil to a record low price tag. But it is what they mean. And the people of the Persian Gulf know it. The freedom of the Iranian people isn't even a bracket in Trump's daily agenda. Except, nice words have a nice ring to it, don't it? Especially for someone who wants to end up in history as a Nobel Peace Prize winner. For Trump, it is not so much about the peace as it is about the winning. We can see the modus operandi by Israel and the United States by now. Israel attacks first, then there follows an American attack. Just like last year in June, when Israel attacked Iran first, and Iran defended themselves, and then followed several American airstrikes. It stands painfully clear now that Netanyahu is conspiring with the Trump administration and Pentagon before every US attack on foreign soil, like in the operation when Nicolas Maduro was abducted. Israel holds a prominent role in every American operational and tactical decision right now, partly because of the Epstein connections in the US administration. So, when Trump comes after Sweden, we are going to have to oppose two aggressors. One is the US, that will provide the military muscles. The other one is the advisor and strategic planner backstage, Israel. It is not going to be easy. But since we see, or I see anyway, Israel's true face as the puppet master for the US administration, we will prevail. As long as we can see them, it is going to be okay. It is going to be a regional war, and it won't even reach outside of Scandinavia, with the exception for Greenland. Certainly not since ASML's advanced lithography machines, which make it possible for producing advanced semiconductors, are made in in the Netherlands. Why do you think that the General Secretary of NATO is Mark Rutte from the Netherlands? However, it may be that the US will keep to the backstage and let Russia do the aggression on us. There are several possible roads the US and Israel can take. They won't necessarily take the road I am laying out for you. On the contrary, it would be bad politics since it reveals that the US and Israel would be planning for this direction of force. It might not even be a kinetic choice of method, but they will try to get to us, if they get the chance. Ultimately, it is a matter of psychology. They know what they themselves are like, and the Mossad certainly know that most of the Scandinavians in politics and finance are not like that, with the exception of some Sweden Democrats, of course. It's a quite sexual incentive. But I'm not going down that rabbit hole right now. All I am saying is that because of this, they hate us with all their guts. There is already a war now, but keep an eye on China and Taiwan. The US very recently deployed missile systems, probably anti ship missiles, perhaps even anti aircraft missiles, barely 150 kilometers from Taiwan in a Philippine island in the South China Sea. A trump card they used in preparation for such an attack on Iran. Remember, Taiwan's TSMC is still probably quite important to the US as a provider of 2 nanometer semiconductors. Albeit, the US has opened production sites for semiconductors in Arizona, but presumably they do not to date produce any 2 nanometer semiconductors. But they will have the production going on in the near future. Then it is goodbye Taiwan from Trump. And the US can use the 5 nanometer semiconductors or so they produce already today in Arizona. But optimal would have been 2 nanometers. And forget about nuclear weapons. Trump claimed in his State of the Union speech that Iran is developing long range nuclear weapons with ability to reach the US. How can an underdeveloped nation like Iran do what not even the US could do? How can they, without supporting satellites, guide missiles to actually hit targets in the US at such long distance? Have they even test fired ICBMs missiles? When did this happen? I haven't read, seen, or heard anything about it. The war on Iran may be a little bit about nuclear weapons because of the US number one strategic partner, Israel. But most of it is about the oil in the entire Persian Gulf. Not taking the oil by force and stealing it like a thief in the night, but regime change. Although it didn't go so well in Iraq. Iraq sells much more oil to China than it does to the US. So does practically all of the Persian Gulf states, with the exception of Bahrain, who does not have any oil on its territory, but only refines oil for kerosene, i.e., aircraft fuel, this oil coming from the nearby Gulf states. And even there, the US is only in third place of Bahrain's export partners, with 9% of Bahrain's export going to the US. But the US is still counting on toppling the Ayatollah, since the former Shah's son and pretender to the Iranian throne, Reza Pahlavi, has been living in the US since 1984. He has been groomed to take over the throne since Ronald Reagan's time in office. They count on inserting their investment into Iran's institutions, literally. Iran does not have the ability to guide missiles to targets on the American continent. And the United States knows this, of course. It is Israel that is concerned about possible future nuclear weapons in Iran, not the United States. In fact, I do not even think Iran has a real nuclear weapons program. And I do not think Israel has strategic nuclear weapons either. Then they would have been going rough on the tough, meaning that they would actually have deterred Iran with Israeli nukes. There are several reasons why I don't think Israel has strategic nukes, but I'm not going to dive into it here any more than I already have. Part of it is technical and has to do with the fissile material in nuclear warheads. Finally, China does not have the ability to project power in the Indian Ocean or further. They have merely two aircraft carriers, no, three, and two of them are inferior to the US aircraft carriers. They all must take turn to stay at port, one at a time. In the meantime, the Houthi militia in Yemen is continuously attacking merchant ships and oil tankers in and around the Red Sea. And even if it doesn't have if it doesn't serve Iran, a closing of the Hormuz Strait may be on the table for Iran. Because if the regime isn't going to survive, then why not go to the bottom of the sea with the ship? The ship being Iran. Roger and out.